Ready? All right. All right, it's 9 a.m. We'll call this meeting of the Information Technology Committee to order. This meeting and all other meetings of this committee are open to the public. Proper notice has been posted and given to the media in accordance with Wisconsin statutes so that citizens may be aware of the time, place, and agenda of this meeting. The roll call sheet has gone around. All members of the committee are present. The chair will entertain a motion to approve the agenda after any review. Does anybody have anything? Okay, motion made by Dave Morak, seconded by Supervisor Kevin to approve the agenda. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion is carried. Minutes of the previous meeting on October 5th.
Craig moves to approve the minutes.
Supervisor Craig has moved to approve the minutes.
Mark, seconds.
Dave Morak seconds. Any discussion? If not, the chair will call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Motion is carried unanimously and approved. Public comment. I see no one else here. So we'll go on to the agenda to review and approve monthly bills. Brent, any comments?
We did start to get in quite a few of the docking stations that we had ordered starting in May. So they were an item, and there's still a few on back order, probably not coming until next year. There's just no supply. I mean, you've heard it from me, you've heard it from other departments, that are trying to get anything from cars to computers to, in some cases, tablets, cell phones. There's just not a lot of supply, but we were able to get in quite a few of the docking stations for some of the laptops that have been coming in over the course of the year. So there were quite a few docking stations. They were in there listed as HP, USB-C. We had two of them that we had ordered with audio modules for people that do Zoom. It's all contained in this little dock. A couple of them were called Thunderbolt docks. Those were the ones that were just available at the time. So, I mean, they're not exactly the same as the others, but they work exactly how we need them to. And then we ordered a camera. We were able to get 4 of our laptops that we had ordered earlier had come in with their care packs. So those, hit our bills in November. Some software for disc creation like CDs and DVDs. And then we got a Mitel phone firewall that we are using for the soft phones. I kind of gave a little description of those. We'll talk a little bit about that a little bit later, but that's, connection stuff so that we can get the people out on the internet working at home connected to our system through the soft phone. We got some server licenses. We got some memory upgrades, all part of our 2021 plan from last year. And then Digger's hotline, unfortunately we pay for that, but again, it's kind of like a little insurance policy. I shouldn't say it's unfortunate, but like the last time was $6.40. I mean, there's small numbers in our bills. We did some electronic recycling at the PTF, and then we did a training block. What we had left in our training in our department budget, we just buy every year, we buy a training block, which then can be used for the next 12 months. And the nice thing about New Horizon is it's not just 12 months. So let's say we put 4,000 in this year and we don't use it next year and we have 2,000 left in our training. As long as we add to that, the old will then be carried into the next set of 12 months. So it's a way for us to continue to update our training. But if there's not a specific training that we want at the moment, we're not at risk of losing our hours. So total bills was $56,874 and 66 cents. So any questions on any of them?
Craig moves to approve the bills as presented.
Excuse me. Been moved and seconded to approve the bills as presented. Any discussion? Not, I'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion is carried unanimously and they are approved. Supervisor reports to conference, seminar, convention, etc. Does any Supervisor have anything to report?
Was there, I have a question. Was there an IT survey that you guys got from Wisconsin counties? It talked about how we were supposed to report the IT stuff, and I just ignored it because I thought,
I filled it out.
that's not me. Good.
Yeah, that they told you that you could save it. So I filled it out. It wasn't all done because I had to send emails to public health. I had to send emails to law enforcement to get some of their stuff, some other parts of DHHS. You were supposed to be able to fill it out and then save it and then come back to it and keep filling it out. And the first day I saved it, I went back in the next day and it was there. Then I started getting all the answers from law enforcement and DHHS. I went in and all my answers were gone. So I pretty much had to start it all over again. But everything that we did is, yeah, we filled it out. It was like 14 pages. There was quite a bit of information that we shared with them. Nothing that would jeopardize like security or anything. They were just trying to, I think, get an idea of what all the counties are doing. You know, they asked certain questions in there of like, what do you use for your data management in DHHS? And then I think what, you know, they're trying to get at is they probably want people to standardize on one thing. Like if all agencies used Spillman in law enforcement, all your stuff could be changed, you know, shared readily and quickly. But if somebody's using something different than Spillman, yeah, we can provide information, but somewhere someone's going to have to bring that into their system. So like DHHS uses a program called TCM, and they use that with their consortium. That doesn't mean that any other counties, you know, all other counties are using that. The nice thing what the state did is they did create EWSAQUIS probably back in 2001, which is like a data portal for the social workers, and that works very well. So it'd be nice if the state came up with these universal software that everybody used. Now, the issue that we ran into the state was that they built their stuff on, at the time, current technology like Internet Explorer, but then they, you know, either cost or time, they never really updated it. And then we start to run into issues with Microsoft pushing everything to Microsoft Edge instead of Internet Explorer, or people wanting to use Google Chrome instead of Internet Explorer. And then the state also, for one of their programs, used an old version of Java that we actually had to save. And when we built these computers, we had to put this old software on. Well, this old software, every time it hits the internet, wants to update itself because it says, I'm old, I need the new. And if they put the new on, then the program from the state doesn't work. So, you know, it's nice when they step in and create something like that. But, you know, if you're not building it a certain way, then it does also become kind of a hindrance. But I'm not exactly sure what they're going to use all of those results for, but I know that they were trying to get as many counties that would. And it was due last Friday. I think I submitted mine on Thursday morning. So.
Thank you, because I thought there's no way I'm going to go in that direction. So I'm glad. And I didn't know why I was on the list again.
I think it went to everybody who was in the Wisconsin Counties Association, who is on their listservs. I think it probably went to everybody.
Yeah, because I didn't get it.
You didn't
I
get it?
don't think I did either.
Oh.
Do you normally get the WCA ones?
I think I do.
Oh, okay.
Um,
I figured it just went to everybody. I didn't think that they
Yeah, I
would
did
have.
too.
What's interesting about electronic stuff today is that almost daily I get contracts from state of Wisconsin for second floor DHHS to sign, and they're pages and pages, and I can sign them on a computer, my name, date, and all that type of stuff, and my title. It takes me about 5-10 minutes for each contract, but some days I get 2 or 3 of those. I used to have to run over here all the time. Now I don't have to go to my office.
Is that through DocuSign?
Yes,
Yeah,
really works well.
that's a pretty handy application for contracts.
Good.
Plus, they also give you the option in the DocuSign to print it. So if you did not want to fill it out, usually you can choose to print it if that's how you wanted to do it. You don't have to, but some people like the paper copy.
Not me.
Okay, anything else? We'll move on to number 3, the disaster recovery site update.
All right, so I don't remember which months we talked about it, but we had ordered 2 servers, and all the parts for those servers did come in, but we were delayed in October because we were doing that Mitel update. So we were actually able to work on one of the 2 servers in November, and we placed it on Friday. So we do have a couple of our backups running to that first server now. it has definitely increased the speeds on that one. So once we're for sure that everything on there is set up properly, we'll probably look at putting the second server in sometime, probably mid-January. And then right now it'll take us probably about a half a day to decommission the old server, get it out of there and bring it back to the courthouse. So about the same thing for the second one when we do that. Yeah, it's definitely running much faster. So, I mean, even though it's not that old, it's 5 years old for the server, it's the significant resources in the new one are just so much better. So, and we do have a storage area network. I'll talk a little bit about that a little bit later too, once we get to our 2021 budget. But that we're still waiting on a couple parts for that. We were planning on ordering 2 of them this year. So we got most of the first one is in before we order the second one. We don't want to be stuck trying to have half the order arrive this year and half of it arrive next year. So I already talked to Heidi about possibly carrying over what's left in our capital and then buying it next year rather than have half of it show up this year, half of it show up next year as far as parts go. And who knows, if it becomes something that they discontinued, you'd hate to have half the parts for a system that you're not going to be able to get the other half of the parts for. So, and HP sometimes does that, just what they kind of go by quarter. So what was available in Q1 is not always available in Q2. So because we're buying in Q4, I don't really want to risk that Q1 is going to have a hardware refresh and we've got half the stuff. So that might be, unless one of our vendors can come through and get all the parts, then we'll still order it this year. But, as far as equipment shortages and stuff, this has not been a good year for ordering equipment and expecting arrivals anywhere near. I mean, we still have open orders that we were canceling because we found something else, something else will pop up and we'll order that and then cancel the old order. So it's been, I feel like I'm Best Buy, just constantly buying equipment and canceling orders, just trying to get something, into the building so we could use it. So that's all I got for the DR site at the moment. The goal will be to have both those servers running by the end of January. The first one, we moved about half of the data stores to it already. So.
Okay, that it, Brent?
Yeah, that's all I got for the DR site.
Okay, number 4, phone system, 10-digit dial.
I left this on there, even though we didn't meet in November. I don't know if you guys had heard about the 10-digit dial. It was all over the news, the stuff like I pay attention to for news. So I actually got this little article. Obviously it's a month and a half old now, but when we are going to have committee in November, I still want to tell you about it. So I'm just going to read this little article. So it's from the Milwaukee Journal. Starting Sunday, October 24th, people in Wisconsin will have to dial local numbers using 10 digits, the area code and the 7-digit phone number. Currently, people in Wisconsin can place a call to a number in the same area code without dialing the area code. That option will end October 23rd. This will affect both landlines and cell phones in all of Wisconsin's 6 area codes, 262, 414, 534, 608, 715, and 920. As well as more than 24 other states that have not already switched to 10-digit dialing. The change is because the Federal Communications Commission is establishing 988 as the new nationwide phone number for suicide prevention and mental health help. Until the 2-year transition is complete in July 2022, people in need of the hotline should continue to dial 1-800-273-8255. So what's interesting about this is that this had to be done by October of this year. We, as our MyTel phone system, back when we were still using ShoreTel back in 2019, we were already set up for 10-digit dialing. So we put that into our system because we had known that this kind of stuff was coming. There was a lot of places that were up until the deadline still trying to transition some of their older analog systems and their digital VoIP systems to 10-digit dialing. And I know some people had some issues trying to do it. So, we were doing it long ago in anticipation of this, and we just told our system, no matter what number they dial, put this in. And if it's a long distance code, well, then or a long distance number, then they got to put a long distance access code in to complete it. But it worked well for us. We had no issues. We contacted Windstream, who was our phone provider, numerous times to make sure that they were ready. Because we didn't want, anybody looking at us in IT saying, well, your system wasn't ready. Ours has been ready for quite a while, but, Windstream was on the ball and they were ready to go too. We had no problems with phones when they did this change to 10-digit dialing. So kind of interesting how making one hotline number really affected everybody else, but every state, I say everybody else, pretty much everybody in America now is going to have to do 10-digit dialing for them to institute that 988 number. So that part, I don't fully understand why that's why I wanted to kind of read you this article, because I really don't have the answer. I just wanted to let you know, in case you saw the stuff going around in October all over Yahoo and MSN about it, that we were prepared and we're already done with ours prior to all that stuff. Of course, kept our fingers crossed that Windstream was truthful and that their side was all done, which it was, because like I said, we had no problems when they instituted this at the end of October. So that's what I got for 10-digit dialing.
I suppose with the phone systems being the way they were, that the federal government, the FCC, is trying to get everybody on the same page. So I remember years ago when New London, we were the third city in the state to have our own 911 system. And I talked to somebody from the phone company, and if Dave lived in New London and he called a block away to the PD on 911, that phone call went down to Indianapolis and was relayed back up to the police department. That's how that was. And one morning, I remember we had a 911 call and I picked it up and they reported a garage fire. And I asked where it was, 148th Street and something else. And I thought, oh no, I said, where are you calling from? New York City. So there was some kind of electronic mix up in that. The New London PD got a 911 call from New York City. But that's the way that they were configured decades ago, and I'm
Burned down the time they got there.
Yeah, I thought, well,
By the time that New London fire truck got to New York.
so then I called, I hung up and I called New York PD general number and told them what we had, and they said we'd take care of it. But it's just kind of interesting that there was always. You never knew where that phone call was coming from. So,
well, when I was a kid, as long as you were like within the town, you only had to dial the last four.
yeah,
It was like the system knew that you were 489. So all you had to do was dial the last four. Then I want to say probably when I was in college was when you had to start dialing the 7 digits.
yeah.
So it's kind of like soon, I'm sure when they start running out of phone numbers, it's going to be more than 10 digits, but yeah.
Too long and too short was ours.
I was gonna say, we used
Too long
to
and
have
one
to,
short was up.
we used to have to ring ours, and
Yeah.
if you wanted an emergency, you rang it a long time, and everybody listened in, and you told the operator where the fire or what is, and everybody knew.
Right.
Yeah, so we're even beyond that, we're sort of age.
Yeah, but just think of all the community members that could help. Oh, Pat, I know where she lives. I'm
Exactly.
going to go help out.
Yep, you got it. That's all.
Yeah, we had, I don't know if you remember years ago, Reuben Voss lived at the fire department and he took all the fire department calls. And the phone rang and the lady says, we need the fire department at our place right away. The barn's on fire, and hung up.
Oh, geez.
And he recognized her voice and he sent the fire trucks to the right place.
See, isn't it something?
Follow the smoke.
Yeah, but those days are long gone. Anyway,
We diverge.
storage area network order.
Yep. So I mentioned that one we had planned to order 2. We've got most of the parts for number 1. So we're kind of waiting on that to order number 2. This new storage area network is going to house a lot of the law enforcement data. So the virtual servers that we have for law enforcement, the file server, the network share, their evidence, their squad cams will all be housed on this. And then the second one that we're going to order is actually going to be the backup to that one. So that one will end up at the DR site, and those two will talk exclusively to each other. As we continue to separate systems for CJIS, the Criminal Justice Information Systems, they want everything to be kind of separated. As a county, you can't do that for everything. It's just impossible. But as the stuff is that we can separate, we are trying to separate. So this will take their data stores away from the courthouse stand where our data stores are, where the highways are, where the extensions are, and make them kind of independent on their own. And then it will back up. Only their backups will be on the second one. There won't be any county backups unless there was some sort of an absolute issue with one of our other ones and we had to temporarily, run some backups to it just so we didn't miss out on backups and during the night. We are also looking at next year trying to do a midday backup as well. We're just not sure what that's going to entail. We know that it's going to slow down some of our systems, but is saving half a day's of data better than a slow system? That's the kind of thing we're going to have to look at. When you talk about ransomware and all this kind of stuff that could happen, an end user clicks on something they shouldn't have and puts ransomware on their computer. Is it better to have a slower network all the time, but have a midday backup? Where if you do have to restore from a backup, you're not losing a whole day's worth of backup. You're only losing a half day. To be honest with you, when I look at a whole day's backup, that's just kind of the cost of doing business sometimes. You might lose a day's worth of stuff, but you can restore everything prior to that. Like I said, we got to kind of look at and see. We'll probably run a few tests, on a couple of days, see what that does to our network and the users that are here. If it really slows it down, then we're not going to be able to do it. But our hope is that with this newer equipment, with faster processors and more memory, that the end user might not even notice that it's happening.
And that's interesting because sometimes when I want something from here, it'll say in a little bitty line, waiting for, and then it'll have our address and all these letters and everything else. So I know even now we have to wait, but you're talking about people who are in the courthouse working and need to have that. I mean, I can always go back to it another day or wait and sit and, figure.
But certain systems, we don't have to do that on. We're talking like the file shares. You're not accessing the file shares.
Okay.
That's where like our user data would be most impacted by something like
okay.
ransomware or a virus would be the M drive, the N drive, our file shares. That's what we're looking at doing, not say the GIS stuff. All that stuff would still stay on its normal backup plans. This would be for the stuff where the users our users are interacting most with, not the public.
So then you probably will do some kind of a survey, say, hey, we're doing this on this afternoon.
I don't think we'll tell, no, because then
You're not gonna
people might, you don't want to
Oh,
tell them
then
ahead of time, then they're going to find a reason why their computer was slow. We'll just do it. And if it starts to really impact it, then we shut it off right away.
Okay.
We'll know in IT really
you can
if
figure
it's
that
going to,
out. Okay.
yeah, all of a sudden it's like people will manufacture why there was something going on if we tell them ahead of time. So kind of like the placebo effect with drugs sometimes. You make them think they're getting the right one and all of a sudden they're cured. And, you're talking about the phones that happened on an episode of Andy Griffith with some sugar pills. So,
Yeah.
they had no real medicinal effects, but the lady thought they did, so they worked.
Yep.
But that's what I got on the storage area network. Not a lot yet, because again, we're still waiting on some of the parts to come in for the first one, and then we'll figure out. We still have a couple weeks to figure out if we're going to ask for carryover from Heidi. I'm bringing it up now because this is the last time that we're going to meet. We meet at finance tomorrow, so I'm not really going to be able to give you any input from here till our committee meeting in January. So just giving you kinds of heads up on that.
Okay, 2021 budget update.
All right, I'm just going to go through some of the budget accounts. Not everyone that we go through when we normally present, but I'm just going to go through some of them. So for our IT department budget, our telephone budget should be slightly over budget by the end of the year. Our postage will be under budget. Photocopies, office supplies, office supplies will be over budget. Photocopies will be under. Training, like I mentioned, we took everything that was left in the training account and stuck it in that training pool. So that one's going to be break even. Publications, we're going to be under budget on that, and we're going to use the money that we're under budget to cover what we have in office supplies that's over. Mileage, other travel expenses and meals are all going to be under budget. A lot of our stuff went to virtual this year. I can talk, talking to other IT directors and other IT departments, we didn't really like that everything went that way, but because of the pandemic, it kind of changed things. I mean, we do like getting together with people, talking about our problems, figuring stuff out. So the hope is that next year that kind of comes back. But as it stands, we've hardly used any money out of other travel expenses and meals because there was nowhere to go. There was nothing to do. We did use mileage because we were going to the highway. We were going to some of our remote sites. We were going to the DR site, the annex, those places. So we did use some mileage, but nowhere near what we were planning on to use. So all of those accounts will be under budget. Software supplies will be under budget. our non-capital account is over budget by $6.82. So every place where we've got overage will be easily covered by everything that we got that's under budget. So that's in our department budget. The technology maintenance budget, the equipment disposal right now is over budget by 50, and we're still planning on still getting rid of some more. So that's going to go up a little bit. Data communications, that one's under budget by 13,700. Data communications is where we had budgeted for the AT&T redundant internet. We started that project back in March. They are just starting to get the lines in the ground. So without them getting our service up and running, there was nothing to pay. So we end up with more money in that account than we ever thought, because we thought we would have had AT&T by the summer and we didn't. So we're still waiting on them. My plan is to probably anything that we have that's over within reason is used towards engineering labor block. That way we can still continue on with our big projects. They charge about $110 an hour. I got a notice that they're going to go up to 120. So for 100 hours of labor costs us $12,000. So in some of these accounts where they're around 11,000, 12,000 ish, I think we're just going to buy labor blocks, just stockpile that labor, because we always have things that pop up. They help fill in when people are on vacation. They're just a good source for us. So these accounts that are kind of over budget will probably you might see a labor block bill at the end of the year for like 23,000 or something, which would give us probably 200 hours or something, but we'll kind of have to wait and see what the end of the year brings up. Software budget is under budget by 23,256. We're still waiting on a quote for a system called Mobile Device Manager, which allows us to work on like our laptops, our cell phones, our tablets. The best thing about this is that if anything's ever lost or stolen, we can actually kill the device, wipe it remotely. So if it's turned off, the next time that it gets turned on and connects to the internet, it gets wiped. Yeah, it's a pretty nice tool. It's something that the Department of Justice wants counties to have for CJIS. The Department of Health Services wants people to have it for HIPAA. It's kind of a pricey tool that you might not ever need. But if you look at some of the stuff that happened over the last couple of years, I mean, in Minneapolis, they were looting police cars. They burned down the police station. So even your secure sites aren't necessarily considered secure. So if somebody were to steal one of these squad laptops, we can send the command to it the next time that it's turned on and has internet to wipe it. So like I said, these are things that the Department of Justice and the Department of Health Services have wanted. So we put it in our budget last year and we finally got a chance to do it. We've been waiting on the quote for a little while. We did run some demos with CDW on one of the products that we're hoping for. And these products usually can do more things than that. It's expandable. You pay for all the modules, just like Spillman or TCM or Logos. If you want something special, you end up having to pay for it. But for what we need and what we need for CJIS and HIPAA, we can start small and then expand the software to do more things. So kind of excited about that. We're just hoping to get that invoice before the end of the year. Hardware maintenance is currently under budget by $11,547. Last year, we got the routes to recovery kind of changed up some stuff. So we were able to buy a new server last year that we weren't planning on, which meant that this year we had that one server was replacing two. And, when you look at the cost to put warranties on those two servers that you didn't have to put on because you got, I don't want to say free, but basically into my budget, it was nothing I had to budget for. So this new server replaced two. And when you look at the cost of warranties, around $2,000, $2,500 a warranty, you end up with some cost savings there. And by the time we were doing all the routes to recovery stuff, our budget was approved. So it's kind of hard to go back and say, well, I really didn't need that full amount. So again, whatever we've got left will probably be used towards labor block, because there's really no equipment that we can buy at this moment to cover that stuff. And if we carry it over next year, it'll be hard to spend it because we have nothing to really spend it on that would not impact like our 5-year plans. So contracted services currently under budget by $7,583. That one will definitely be a labor block at the end of the year. Non-capital is under budget by $87, and capital is under budget by $43,000. So that's the account. The capital is the one we're hoping to buy that second storage area network, or we just ask for the carryover for next year. And then HIPAA, our HIPAA cybersecurity budget, our contracted services is under budget 2,500 and the training is under by 5. You know, our HIPAA stuff was pretty well placed this year. So we really didn't need to do a lot with that. So we're going to roll those into New Horizons, into some cybersecurity type training for our staff. So, but I know it's kind of quick to go through all that stuff, but you know, that's where we're at. We still have, a few weeks left to deal with some of this stuff. But again, this was the last time that I was going to be with you guys. So I just wanted to make sure we covered as much of it as we could.
What is labor block?
So we pre-buy labor hours with a company. So if like in the middle of the night, something happens, we call them, they can repair it. They're the ones that help us build our servers, configure our storage area networks, our switches, our firewalls. They can step in if we're short-staffed and need some assistance on things.
So if we lost you, if you get
Yep.
run over or
Yep.
something,
Yep.
we could turn to them.
Absolutely. Yep. Yeah. This company we've worked with since pretty much I started here. There was a couple of years where we had a different network administrator and we were using a different company, but yeah, this company has been with us since I started in 1999.
The second question is that tool that wipes out everything. Is that somehow restricted? We have a disgruntled employee like yourself. And you say, I'm gonna get rid of everybody's.
Yeah, that unfortunately, the IT staff are the only ones that could do it.
Okay.
The staff, who lost it or was stolen from would have to contact us. I can tell you straight up, when you're talking about messing with government, it's not worth going to jail or prison over. So,
Some people don't seem.
right. But our staff is the only ones that could do that. So, I mean, it's not like a disgruntled employee could, they could wipe it themselves by ripping the hard drive out or tearing it apart.
They could do the whole company.
Yeah, but no, they can't. Nobody else will have access to that but the IT staff.
Okay. Thank you.
But you're right. You would think that, sabotaging government, usually would keep people from doing that kind of stuff, but you just never know what's in somebody's brain at the moment. But that's why they don't have access to do any of that kind of stuff.
Okay, that it for the budget update, Brent?
Yep.
All right, number 7, project updates.
So Mitel soft phones, Cindy had been working a lot on that in the months prior to. We were able to get that up and running last month for the telework users that are using VPN access. So what that does is it doesn't mean that they have to, in the past, they had to transfer their desk phone to their cell phone, and that's how they would take and receive calls. This way, they're able to take them over the internet using a headset. Doesn't really matter where they are. As long as they've got an internet connection and they're connected to us through VPN, they can use the phone as if they were sitting in their office. They don't have an actual phone. It's all done on the computer with a mouse, clicking on things. And but you can dial calls, take calls, park them, transfer them. It's really, really a nice feature. And I give Cindy a lot of props for getting that up and running. So another thing, Mitel phone placements, we've placed 23 of our new phones. Again, that's pretty much all Cindy. Getting those new phones on people's desks. And, I know that some of them are like it. It's kind of got some little bugs still. It's Mitel's newest phone. And unfortunately, you can't ever put out something new that doesn't always have a little quirks. So working through those, but the staff that have these new phones seem to like them. The handset that you hold in your hand is actually wireless, and the phones come with a wireless headset. So, I mean, you can get quite a bit of distance. If you don't want the headset on your head, you can just take your handset, you can walk around your department. If you're going back in a file room and it's not too far away, you can keep that call connected while you head back there. So it seems like the people that have them, are liking these new phones, and we like them. We've been using them in our department. I don't use one. I have kind of a hearing issue, so I need a headset that has dual ear, and these headsets they only cover one of the ears. So I haven't moved to it yet, but the rest of the staff is using them.
What other department has the soft phones, Cindy?
Oh, soft phones?
Yeah. Or the new Mitel phones?
The new actual desk phones.
First floor.
First floor?
Yeah.
Okay.
Zoning is the last ones to be placed.
Oh, okay. I didn't know.
Yep. The soft phones are primarily DHHS right now.
DHHS. Okay, that's what I was thinking.
Project updates, dispatch center. We've got our 8 workstations are all set up. The 5 TVs, computers, those computers that are going to run the TVs, those are all done. We ordered them longer display cables, longer power cables. they're not quite ready for this kind of stuff yet, but we just didn't want to leave anything to the last minute for ourselves. There are some things still, we need to get the TVs mounted, which is not us. When I say we, I mean as a county. And then we can figure out some cable lengths that they'll need to order for those. But until they're up on the wall and we see how everything's running, we're not going to pre-order those cables. And then once they do fully occupy the new dispatch center, we're going to be removing all the county computer equipment from the old one. Because they are getting new computers for the new one. So all the old computers, all the old monitors and stuff that are in there, that's ours. I mean, they do have Zetron stuff in there as well. We're going to be bringing our stuff all back and repurpose it. If it's too old to really use anymore, then we'll get rid of it. Recruitment, I'm finalizing the wording for the posting. So hoping to work with HR next week to get that job posted. Equipment disposals, like I mentioned, we're doing that. Hoping to get a couple more carts of that out of here by the end of the year. And then the new county iPads for the county board have all come in. So we had ordered 33. We gave Jill hers just as the first one to set up. And then we're going to work with her. It's going to be kind of a big deal for us because as soon as we go to set it up, you're not going to have email on your current one while we set up your new one. So we got to coordinate it with the county board supervisors that, okay, you're not going to have email now until you pick up your new one. And our hope is that maybe we can get them on a day when they're here. We'll work with Jill, figure out who's going to be in the building on which days, maybe get their iPads, get them all changed out. And when they're coming in with their old one, when they're leaving, they'll be leaving with it. So it'll take some coordination to do that.
Is that something you might want to roll out in April with the new supervisors?
It's possible, but I know that Jill has run into issues with some of the phones for the voting, and your current iPads are going to become the voting tools here. So I don't know if we can wait that long, but it's possible. We can talk with Jill, see how comfortable she is with the phones, possibly working that long. There isn't a need to do that though. I mean, we could swap them out, as we could, but otherwise April, we could do that as well. It would just be a lot harder to do all of them in one day.
What do you think?
Yeah, because we'd have to configure email. As soon as we start to do the email, it's not going to work on your old one. So that means at that county board session, we would have to get all 27 of them running all at once. Like kind of we did that update that one day. That was hard trying to get just an update on every one of them.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's feasible to do that, but possibly maybe half. But like I said, we'll kind of coordinate that with Jill and what she would like to do. But that's all I got for information. If anybody has any project questions.
Yeah, Brent, I've got a question. This deals more with, something that can be a project in the future. And this may seem a little off the wall. How far are we from, as a society, where you have an earpiece that will project a hologram of what you see on your screen? So in other words, if I'm somewhere, let's say, shopping or something, and I'm on their guest Wi-Fi, I can just press a button or something and I can see what I would normally see on my iPad or computer screen at home. Is that something they're working on? Is that going to be coming up? Or?
I don't know. I would imagine there's something. I just read a brief little article this morning that Elon Musk wants brain implants by 2022, and even that was too far off for what he wanted. So not exactly. Yeah.
What was he going to do with them? I mean,
I'm guessing cashless society where all your bank information is stored. You just.
Oh, that's all I needed in my brain.
Yeah.
No wonder you're retiring. Pat.
But again, I don't know. That kind of stuff. That kind of technology. I don't know. It does. It sounds nice.
Yeah, I remember when I was a kid, like 6, 7 years old, reading a Dick Tracy comic book, and he's talking to his watch.
Yeah.
I got one of them. So that's here.
Yep.
And I'm just curious if you had seen anything.
Well, Google tried the Google glasses. That didn't last real long, where it was, I don't know how that worked for people with prescription, but it basically put the little monitor.
Yeah.
So the Google Glass was like a frame with a little clear square, and that square was your monitor. And being that it was that close to your eye, you could see that stuff. But I don't ever know what really happened, why that's not a more popular thing. I don't know how that would work with prescriptions, because you'd have to have your normal glasses on and you'd almost have to have an add-on piece onto that. But they were trying something similar, not a hologram, but trying to put the monitor, everything would have been built into these glasses.
I was just reading the other day, a high school or a college student somewhere in Africa developed a way, he ran wires underneath the road, and the cars going over and people walking over it, the vibrations produced electricity. His school has now got free electricity, and he's providing electricity to 10,000 other people in his village simply by cars driving down that road. And some country in Europe just awarded him some scientific prize, several $100,000 to pursue this. And I'm thinking, what else is out there that maybe one person on this planet out of 8.5 billion people had thought of?
Yeah.
And apparently from what the report was, it's relatively inexpensive to run these wires underneath the highway. You always have movement. So you just don't know what's out there in the technology world anymore. And I suppose pretty soon when I go home, I'll have to tell my wife exactly where I was, because she'll know.
She might have that already with track
Right
your
on my phone.
Yeah.
iPhone.
Wherever I go, Nancy knows. Wherever she goes, I know sometimes.
That's what she said the other day. You stopped up in Clintonville at my aunt's house. Yeah, I did, because it was her birthday and coming back from up north, I stopped and got her some Christmas. But she knew that. I didn't tell her I was going there.
Wow.
But she tracks me on the phone, so.
And here it tells how fast I was going, my top speed, the route they took,
Yeah,
how long everything's on here.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't enable any of that stuff.
so,
Well,
okay, anybody have any questions on project updates for Brent? Dick, Dave, Pat, no? All right, set date, time and location of next meeting. The first Tuesday in January is the 4th. Is that all right with everybody?
got it marked down.
Dave, is that okay with you? Brent?
Yep.
Cindy? All right, we'll meet at 9 a.m. on the 4th in this room again.
Yep.
All right, the court. The chair will entertain a motion for adjournment.
Warren moves to adjourn.
Kevin
Dave
seconds.
Moore and Dick seconded.